So it's like every time I want to film, somebody wants to cut their grass. It's part of life. Well, look, I'm working on a got a 2006 Chevy Impala. It's got a 3500 piece of crap in there. And what's going on with this one? We got the p0011. P0011 is the cam actuating circuit. Now I got the camera facing down here where the cam actuator is very accessible. It's these 3 fasteners. I don't know the Torx bit yet, but this is what we're going to be replacing. But before all that, let's look at some information, and I'll go over a brief explanation of what happens when the code triggers. So it's called the code setting criteria. So basically, when your check engine light illuminates on the dash, there's a particular set of events that take place that manifest that code or that light. And I'll briefly go over what is the main causation and what it could be and why it isn't plausibly other things. So we'll go from there. I got the backup tool, the MK808. Did I say that right? No, the MK was a piece of crap when I had to send back. This is the MP808 by Alltel. It's the backup tool. It's just a little bit more handier. I feel as though it's a little bit more responsive when it comes to just pulling codes. It's not that much. I got off Amazon for like $800. So, but it does what some of the MS906BT can't. In like the other case, we had to diagnose that 2018 vehicle. This was capable of doing it. Don't ask me why, I'm not sure. But we're going to go back. I'm going to show you the code. And we'll go through some, see if the see if the scan tool is capable of doing some basic tests. And I'm going to be straight up, it can't. So I'm not sure if it's just the scan tool I got, or if it's just incapable of going through certain tests. But the data still helps out a whole lot. So here's the code here. P0011 camshaft position sensor performance. Let me roll this window up. You gotta hear that lawnmower. So we're gonna go back. We're gonna go to active test here. We're gonna go to cam position actuator system, CMP, and we're just gonna go to the actuating setting here. So let me briefly describe what's going on here. So we got a code of the cam actuating circuit fault. What this car has to see happen is there has to be a variance of 6 degrees for approximately 28 seconds that will trigger this code. So once the car sees that there's too much of a variance, is out of specification, it's going to trigger a code. We're going to get illuminating light. So what could be happening is, one, our oil's low because it's oil pressurized and it's actuated by oil pressures, like the VTEC system in the Honda. It is mechanically operated but oil controlled. So once it sees that variance of 6 degrees or beyond for 28 seconds, it's going to trigger that check engine light. You could have a loose timing chain. It could be that, but typically you'll have maybe a crank cam correlation code affiliated with the P0011. But this is not the case. We have an isolated code, no follow-up codes with no other issues. So my logic and my experience of dealing with these codes, usually it's going to be the actual solenoid itself that controls the system, which is what we're going to replace, or it could be defective oil, contaminated oil. Basically, the oil hasn't been changed in a while and to be replaced. I'm going to do that also. Now, what's going on? This is just seeming to be like an intermittent fault. The check engine light isn't illuminated yet. It needs a wheel bearing on here. So this is actually the car I had diagnosed the ABS module on a while ago. But this is a different fault. It just needs a wheel bearing on the front right. The ABS module is working appropriately, so it's still fixed. It just have different problems, and that's why I say this car is a piece of crap. Chevy, these vehicles are a piece of crap to me. But I digress. So So we could have a code pertaining a crank cam correlation. We don't have any follow-up codes with any other issues. We just have an isolated code of p0011, which is just the oil control circuit. Now, like I said, the circuit could be the problem, but typically you'll get information pertaining a voltage reference. Like there's some feedback issues associated or affiliated with a p0011. So you can have a circuit fault and another follow-up code. We just have this one isolated code. So what it means is that when the car goes through its drive cycle or monitoring phase for this component, it detected that this component was out of specifications for the allotted time that it was given, which was the 28 seconds. Now let me explain these things here. You got the we have the camshaft position sensor command. That's what the computer is going to control the circuit to do. This sends should be a square wave, high side switch square wave, a 12-volt square wave that pulse width modulates this component to operate. Now, when it tells this solenoid to activate, it's going to give it a desired angle. What we have down here is the camshaft position angle. So this is going to be the actual angle here. Here at the bottom is going to be the variance. So these are very important pieces of information here. So we have our command state, which was what I'm telling my secretary to do. We have what we desire our secretary to do, and then we have what our secretary is actually putting out, and we can measure the variance if she's living up to our expectations. That's how I look at it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give it gas and see how the variance is looking. I can't keep up with both of these numbers, so I'm just gonna look down. Oh shoot, what happened? That was me. I don't know what I did there. No, I don't even have any voltage. Look at the scan tool up here. It doesn't have any voltage going to it. Is it me? Make sure my pins. Oh. It might be because it's an all tail. Let's see if it comes to. Maybe it was me. Okay. Not sure what happened there. Let's go back into it. So I'm going to give it a little gas, accelerate to about 1500 RPM. The car is running in park. Parking brake is active. So we can see there that it did jump a little bit. But again, it gave it the vehicle code mandates give it its tolerance. So we're right at 6%, that threshold there. And I'm right at 1700 RPM. So I'm gonna lay off the gas, come back to. So we see there is higher than what is expected. The actual angle is lagging a little bit, but it's not within the code setting criteria logic. It has to do this for 28 seconds. So basically what you would do is just monitor the cam variance and just take a peek at the actual angle versus the desired position here. So they should be matching, but here is going to give us the variance, the difference in those two. So we can look, this cam position command is only going to be of substance if we had any other code pertaining any other issues regarding I guess the cam positioning circuit. Not the cam position, but the oil control system, the oil control actuating circuit. Alright, so just after a little while of playing with it, I'm pretty much concluding what I'm going to do. I'm still going to change the part because the actual diagnosis of this. I mean, you can look at the data here, but it's good to just pull it out and do a visual inspection. And honestly, if I got it out, I'm going to change it. I mean, this car does have quite a bit of miles on it. Let me see here. Yeah, 147,000 miles, and no cheaper than what the part is. Yeah, I'm going to throw one on there. I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I'm going to throw it on there, but I'm very confident that this part is potentially failing, and I'm going to also give it an oil change. The oil is a little low, but I remember I topped it off a while ago, but we'll talk more out there. So like I was saying, yeah, the oil is a little low, but it's not severely low to the point where it would cause any issues with the oil control system here in relation to the cam. Now, again, I am going to basically chuck a part at it, simply because if I gotta pull off and inspect it, if that pintle inside of there is worn out, even if it wasn't, it's already off, and the sealing capabilities are going to be disturbed. I just rather put a new one on here and also change the oil because it is due for oil service. Now, if you're not certain about how to go about this, if you're delinquent on the oil change, just go ahead and change the oil first, clear the code, and then come back and check it, because a lot of times the oil filter can get stopped up and restrict the flow to the point where it will starve some of these integral components that operate the mechanical functionality of this engine here. So change the oil first, clear the code, and then recheck things. That will always be the first thing you would generally want to do if you have any faults with the anything relating to an oil control circuit, such as the VTEC on a Honda, or in this case the cam positioning actuator. So we're going to work on getting that out. I want to remove this container here. We're going to get the camera set up, and we're just going to take that. It's got like a couple different names, but I'm just going to call it an oil control solenoid. I mean, it's like a magnet something on there, but it's just the oil circuit to me. And before I do, again, I don't think it's a timing chain. There's no timing chain rattle, there's no slap, and there's no cam correlation codes. So let me go ahead and tear into this. We're located at the cam actuating solenoid here. There's a connector in the back. We're just going to simply remove that. This is one connector, and I'm going to get the appropriate fasteners for the appropriate socket here to get these off. Look like a hex bit, but we're going to find out shortly. I was under the impression it was a hex bit, but it's a Torx. I got a T27. Feel a little loose. Let me see. It might be a. Let me try a T30. Yeah, the T30 took care of it. It's a T30. This is not the safe way to pull these off. Pretty much asking for trouble, but I'm still young and I take risks, so alright, let's see if we can get this one out. I wonder if I need to put a rag down in here. The oil ain't come out yet. I'm gonna do it just in case. It's been so long since I pulled one of these out. Damn, it's hot. It blows. Alright, I got the oil control solenoid, or however you want to call it, the cam position magnet out of there. I mean, it's like 1,000 names for these things, but it still serves the same purpose. Now here's the old one. What I did was I put it under some water to cool it down and hit it with some brake cleaner. That's why I kind of got that haze on there, because of the brake cleaner. And I wanted to get it room temperature as fast as possible before the new part got here, which it has. If you're worried, curious about the part number, it's 917-298. Now, let's take a look under there. I want to show you what it looks like if my camera will pick this up. Here's my light right here, and we're going to do some quick resistance tests, and I'm going to talk about that. We'll proceed with this replacement. Let's see. On the front of, this wiring look sucky here. So on the front of the cam gear, or the actual actuator that the timing chain connect to, you should have saw like a little shaft in the center of those three bolts, or those fasteners on the gear itself, where this would connect to. And like I was saying, when you test this, I don't know if I mentioned, but you want to make sure this little pintle just comes out and falls back down, just like that. That's how you test this. If it gets stuck or have issues falling back down, it's going to be bad. Now I did find some resistance specs on my site here, and well, you can just flip it upside down. I mean, it freely moves, but that still don't tell me anything. I've had solenoids work. They look like they function, they sound like they function, and they're fucked up. That's what it was. So this doesn't mean anything. I mean, it can act like it wants to have the tendencies to want to work all day, but it's broken. Now, I did find some resistance value tests we can use. I don't like resistance value tests simply because they're just inaccurate. It will throw you for a loop here, and it just basically tests off of manufacturer's recommendations if this is in specifications. So resistance values can work, but they're not really efficient. I'm not that bright when it comes to actual resistance value and Ohm's law and all this other stuff, because I'm pretty sure the resistance of a solenoid it probably would signify the strength and reliability, or I guess the movement of this component. I don't know. Above my pay grade. I just try my best to diagnose and fix it. I didn't make it. But we can test the resistance value. And again, I hit it with brake cleaner to get it cooled down to room temperature as close as the new one as possible. And we're going to do a quick resistance value test and just check this pintle here, which seems to be working perfectly fine. It does definitely sound different when it hits when it bottoms out, but that's because probably this doesn't have any oil in it, unlike this one. That doesn't have any oil, unlike this one. So, and plus this is worn out, so I'm pretty sure that has a lot to do with the clearance and everything. So who knows? But let's do a resistance test, and it's supposed to be 4.8 ohms to 5.8. That's the range. 4.8 ohms to 5.8. Let's test it right quick. Let's see if I can do this. I checked it when it was hot and it was 6.8. I'm not sure what it is now. I'm going to test my connector first. Should be 0 ohms, close to it. Alright. We got 6 ohms. 6 ohms. Now I'm gonna be straight up. This connector in here seems a little shaky. It was a little loose. I don't know if that had anything to do with anything. All right, let's get the new one. So technically, that is out of specification. Let's start this plastic open. And here's the new one, and it sounds new, sounds strong. That's what it sounds like. All right, let's see what value we got off of here. These connectors. So we got 5.5, and I can reverse these and do the same test. 5.5. So this is within specification, unlike the old one, and I'm pretty sure those resistance values do widely range from manufacturer to manufacturer, from part to part. Nothing's going to be identical. But we can talk about that all day, about resistance value. I know it has more of an influence on signaling circuits like VR sensors or Hall sensors when it comes to outputting a signal with the different impedance, but that's a story for another day. All right, I'm gonna get this installed in reverse order as we saw, but we went over some basic tests we could do, which was checking the pintle, pulling it out, letting it fall down. With the old one, doing a resistance test. We saw the bad one. It was technically out of specification per what the information that I received stated. And what also could happen is the oil. So that would be the first thing I would do also if it was my car. But being that this is a customer car, and to diagnose this, you have to remove this component. I would feel better just replacing, and it was technically out of specifications with the tolerances that were given. So this seems a lot more justified the more I deal with this. But the oil is still going to get changed, and we're going to get this put back on here, and we're going to compare the numbers. All right, car is prepared. I got the oil changed. This is the, okay, there you go. Yeah, that was the first stop after the oil change. It's going to do that. Then let's go to, I need to reset this oil life, and I think I just need to push the accelerator pedal 3 times after cutting the key on. Let's see if it worked. Okay, yeah, it did work. I can't remember all the procedures for all these vehicles. I work on so many different things. All right, let's go to cam position actuator. Yeah, that's the case right now. So what I'm going to do, before it has some episodes where it went above say about 8 degrees variance. So we'll see what happens right now. This is my first startup again, so we'll see. It should be a little off for a split second or so. Oh wow, that's really good. Damn. It ain't no variance. So before I'm at 1700 RPM, and there's no issues. That's a hell of a lot better. Wow, I'm gonna go a little higher, because before it went up to 6 and 8 degrees for about a good 2-3 seconds. It ain't doing nothing now. It's just a lot better. Damn. Give myself a pat on the back, right? All right. So I don't know if I mentioned. Oh, there was a 3. Let's see what happens now. Let me let it warm up for a second while I talk about this. So the drive cycle for this vehicle, if you well, once I'm gonna clear the code. I might not clear because the car needs to be inspected, so I'm gonna let it go through its own test phase. So again, the check engine light is off. Once I drive for about 7 minutes, it should not register as a hard code. So I'm gonna take it on a drive, get on the highway, drive about 7 minutes, a couple miles, and then drive back, and then I'll recheck the codes. Worst case scenario, I gotta clear the codes, and she's gonna have to, drive it for a full day for the emissions to go through its testing procedures. But the drive cycle for this, you drive 7 minutes. of normal driving, and it'll go through its monitoring for the cam actuating circuit. So we'll see what happens with that. Alright, so I got my test drive. Now I did complete the drive cycle requirements. I just simply got on the highway, drove for how long it take? 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. And before I even got to one of like 2-3 exits, I just checked my current history and current codes, and that is, the code has passed. So before it has not ran, but now it has. This test and this ignition cycle is passed, and in the past it has failed. So this is fixed. Everything's working out fine. This is what I did to remedy the p0011. The repair actually took, it didn't take that long. It was like, well, removing it still requires diagnosing it. And again, I felt it was necessary to replace the part while I was out. We did a resistance test. The resistance value showed that the part was out of specifications. It may help you, it may not, but then again, the resistance values are just kind of like, they're iffy. They're not really that reliable. But I'm going to work on getting this ABS cleared up one day. But that's not like a huge priority because the wheel speed sensor is just defective. But it will be pretty interesting to diagnose that. And but I don't think cause I did a Monte Carlo a while ago. Successfully repaired and diagnosed that, and I don't really do too well. Maybe because it's me. I'm still in my whack phase. But we'll see what happens. But hit that link, subscribe to the channel, stay informed, have that reassurance in my work. See you on the next one.